Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 28 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts, Turtle, Sean, and Mike. Thank you for joining us today. Today, Mike has decided to leave us to our own devices since he went to Disney. So, Sean and I will be doing a Banter Blitz episode on the Netflix live action One Piece. How are you today, Sean?
Doing all right, hoping our viewers aren't too jarred by the different voice, because Mike's usually the one who does the intro for us, and he's the one who kind of guides the discussion. However, you have to keep in mind that Turtle and I are the ones who have the most experience with anime. We have watched a ton of titles between the two of us, and we're really excited to dive in. How are you doing, Turtle?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well actually. I'm interested to do another banter blitz, which we've done a couple of these on a couple different properties, trying to stretch out a little bit. But today we're talking about a live action uh, take on the One Piece series, which the live action is based on the manga, not the anime. The anime is based off the manga, the live action based off the manga. So I personally have not read the manga. I don't have space to store all of those books. I just partake in the anime. But it's a fun little a little take on the series. And for those who have not watched any other live action versions of other anime properties, they're usually not very good.
Yeah, I would agree. I watched let's see, what are some of the ones I've watched? I watched there was a Full Metal Alchemist one that was all Japanese cast, and I think they dubbed over them with like English voices on Netflix, and that was like okay. I missed Death Note. Cowboy Bebop was better than I think a lot of, in my opinion, better. Like I said, this is the stuff that loses us listeners by saying the Cowboy Bebop live action wasn't trash. But I just accepted that it wasn't going to be the original Cowboy Bebop anime, but in live action form. And once you accept that, it's not really that bad.
I would agree with you, honestly. I mean, you have to realize that when you're taking a cartoon of any kind, or even like a book, be it a manga, an actual book, like when you're adapting that into a live action medium, you have to change things. It cannot be a one for one. It's not going to work. So you have to be able to adapt, whatever you can to make things work to whatever story you're telling. So I liked the Cowboy Bebop live action until that last half hour, that final episode where I think they went off the deep end trying to set up for a season two, and I think they shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, and they deviated a little too far from the source material in that last half hour, and I think had they kind of not deviated so far from the source material, that I think people could have like forgiven the show for, even if they're like, well, it wasn't great, but like at least they're kind of faithful a little bit. But they kind of went so far off the source material.
Yeah, they really did. Yeah, I mean, the episodes that they chose to adapt, I thought they did pretty well, and they tied them together, whereas the original show has like 5 episodes to the plot, and the rest of them are just random things that are going on. It's like their own little mini movies, and that's how the show was designed, to be their own kind of mini movies and not really connect. Where the live action kind of sewed the story beats together, so it made sense. So I thought they did a good job with that, at least. But this is kind of a different show, and it's better for it.
Yeah, I agree. Other live actions though, I'm trying to think if I saw any other live actions. I didn't watch the Death Note one. I heard so many bad things that I just couldn't. I think there's a Mob Psycho 100 live action out there, but I guess it's kind of different when the live action versions are made like in Japan, like with the Japanese language and then just dubbed over on Netflix, versus like made in America with an American studio.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of like a different type of thing. So I don't even know if I can really compare them.
they actually had a Japanese Death Note movies with full Japanese cast, Japanese actors. They were really good. I actually saw those years ago, and then Netflix decided to make their own show, which I heard was awful. I didn't see that. I can't talk about that. But the Japanese live action movies for Death Note, they were good. You just got to read subtitles because it's in Japanese.
Wait, Total, did you watch the original Death Note, like the anime?
I did, yes.
Oh crap! I watched it for the first time like within the past year.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, people, people. It's one of those ones that everyone's like, you gotta watch Death Note. You gotta watch Death Note. It's really good. And I finally got around to it. That's how far the backlog goes. You know what I mean? People are
Oh
like,
yeah.
people tell me I gotta watch something 15 years ago. Or one time, what is it? My brother played Resident Evil 4 in high school, and then like I bought a copy on the PS4, and I played it and I beat it, and I'm like, hey brother, I beat Resident Evil 4. It was really cool. Here's what I thought, from beginning to end. And I realized, like, I sent him all these messages. He'd beaten the game like 10 years ago. And in my mind, I was like, oh, yeah, you remember all that stuff, right? Like, so I'm like, wait a minute. That's how far my backlog goes. I'm stuck like 10, 15 years back on a lot of stuff. They need to stop making media. Give me a few
I'm
years to catch up.
Dude, I'm overrun too. Like my video game backlog is stupid. I have
Oh,
games that I haven't even opened. 'Cause I just don't have time.
I'm so sad. I have PS2 games on my shelf that I've never actually played, and I don't want to get rid of them because what if I want to play them someday?
Oh yeah. I'm a collector too, so like,
Same.
anime figures and video games, and I picked up a couple retro consoles now that like I had as a kid and somehow I lost or got broken or my brother took and put into storage and can't find it. So I bought my own again to have. That's a thing, by the way. If you're listening, Scott, thank you for losing stuff. Not to put that on you, but sometimes he does listen to our podcast, so just a shout out to him. But yeah, I mean, I like to collect stuff.
Shout out to Scott. Scott's been a while, dude.
Yeah, man. We'll be seeing him next month for the baby shower.
Aw, that's awesome. I'm so happy to hear about that.
I'm gonna be an uncle.
Yeah, congrats. Prematurely, congrats.
Oh, thank you. Well, should we get into it then?
Yeah, but first, I guess for the viewers, so they can frame their expectations of us. I wanted to say, like Turtle, what are show me your One Piece credentials. How into One Piece are you? To what extent are you a fan?
Oof. Well, I think I can say it's my favorite anime as of right now. I've been following it for quite a while, not since its original release. It originally came out, the anime, I believe, in 1999, and it's been running ever since, which is absolutely absurd to say out loud. Back in when I was growing up in the 90s, I was real big into Dragon Ball Z, which I do still love the Dragon Ball franchise. If they were to, release a new show or announce a new show or do another movie, I'm all in. I want to see it. I'm all about it. But since like Dragon Ball has sort of like faded, One Piece has been my fix. So like every Sunday morning I get up, that's the first thing I do is turn on the new episode of One Piece. Like I love it. I've been following it since I don't know, mid 2000s to late 2000s, and I've been a fan ever since. So it's a daunting show to get into because it's over 1,000 episodes. In fact, I think we're in the 11 to 1,200 range right now, which is crazy. So to sit down and start fresh with that show, it's a lot. I get it. It's a lot of people are afraid to. Well, it's just too big. I can't sit down and watch that. It's too long. But I honestly, if you like Dragon Ball Z or any other like shonen type show, and you've not seen One Piece, you really should, and maybe give the live action a watch and see if it's sort of your cup of tea. And if you kind of like it, then get the manga, watch the anime, whatever version you want to do. The manga you can kind of read at your own pace, so you can judge that how you want to, and that is the original story. But I've just been watching the anime for so long. Um, I'm all in at this point.
Yeah, nah, you also you've partaken in some of the peripherals, right? The video games and the card game, right?
Yes, I am into the card game. Sadly, I don't get to play a whole lot, but I do collect. And it's a pretty fun game, to be honest. Um, and I've also had a handful of couple video games here and there. Um, for any of the Dynasty Warriors or Muso style games, uh, I have Pirate Warriors 3 and Pirate Warriors 4, which I booted up not too long ago because they dropped new DLC, new characters.
I mean, that's pretty nice. I played a little bit of Pirate Warriors with our friend Dan, and he, I guess my favorite character in that game was Perona.
Ah,
For some reason, yeah, I don't know.
yeah, she's in Pirate Warriors 3, and I think they took her out of 4, which kinda sucks because I remember she had kind of a unique moveset in 3.
Yeah, it was kind of unique. I thought it was kind of interesting because it's all the ghosts,
Yeah.
um, which which is cool. Um, but I'll go over my credentials for One Piece. I have read none of the manga. I played a little bit of Pirate Warriors 3. I've seen all the anime figures. I guess there are a bunch of them, uh, but I don't own any. And I watched the anime until about like right after they recruited Sanji and before they even introduced Chopper. And I watched that with the Four Kids dub. And I
Ooh.
Yep, and I know all our listeners are gonna be like, the Four Kids dub, how dare you speak of such blasphemy? Uh However, I don't know, when I was like I don't know, when I was watching it and I was in like, I don't know, middle or early high school, like I just didn't care. Because like all cartoon and anime dubbing was like a little goofy. And some of it was really good. Like there were shows that had really good voice acting, but a lot of times it was just okay. So I just accepted it for what it was with all the goofy voices. I mean, I watched Yu-Gi-Oh! And Yu-Gi-Oh's voices were way worse than the One Piece 4 Kids dub. Probably the same voice actors, really, but like, or similar voice actors. But yeah, it was just kind of like, I don't know. I was just used to like really goofy voice acting. And One Piece, whether people believe it or not, from a lot of what I've watched, it can be pretty goofy, right? So the voices being goofy wasn't that weird to me. But that's how far back we are for me.
I'll say it's definitely a little cartoony, and that's something that when they announced they were gonna do a live action, obviously you have all the previous shows before making you cringe, go, "Oh, no." But I was like, "One Piece? How could you dare touch One Piece in a live action setting? It's not gonna work." They found a way to make it work.
What worries me here is just One Piece is so long. I just don't see how they could ever finish the live action. Even if it's a
Yeah,
hit, it takes so long to make the show and write it that like and especially with we had like the writer strike and the actor strike uh like delaying things even further. We're not even going to get the second season to like 2027 or something crazy like that probably. So it's
yeah.
just like I'm just like, why am I even watching this? Because we're never gonna get the conclusion to One Piece unless they change all the actors halfway through because they're 50 now and can't make them look young anymore.
Well, I mean, there is a time skip, so there could be something to that, but
Yeah, I did
um,
hear there is a time skip, but I don't know. What is it? A 2 year time skip?
it's 2 years, yeah, so not
Yeah.
that big a deal.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the magic of Hollywood, there's a reason they have like 25-year-olds play 17-year-olds consistently.
Yeah.
They're really good. Also, Botox goes a long way, I hear. Keep keep you young. I'll say if there's a I heard one celebrity say one time that if there is a person in Hollywood and they say, wow, they look so good naturally, do they get any work done? The answer is always yes. Everyone in Hollywood gets work done, even if it's
Well, I
just
mean,
Botox. They all get work done.
they got that Hollywood money, so they can do that.
Yeah, and even if they don't have that Hollywood money, if they want to get that Hollywood money, you better look young as long as possible.
That's right.
So yeah, those are my credentials. I pretty much have none. I know who the characters are, and that's about it. So it was a fun watch for me. But yeah, you want to dive in, Turtle?
Yep, we'll get into it. So today we are talking about the Netflix live action of One Piece. And I just wrote a handful of notes, a couple bullet points we can just talk about episode by episode here. We're not going to go full in depth like we do when we do our 2 episode watch because this series is 8 episodes and each episode is about an hour apiece. So we'll be here till next week. So the Netflix synopsis is Monkey D. Luffy and his pirate crew explore a fantastical world of endless ocean and exotic islands in search of the world's ultimate treasure to become the next Pirate King. Episode 1 is called Romance Dawn, and that's basically like the first initial arc of the manga is called Romance Dawn. So that was really nice that we're opening up with the episode 1 with that title. So we get stranded on a sinking boat. We have a carefree Luffy. He begins his journey in search of the One Piece, which is the lost treasure of Gold Roger. And first thing he needs is a crew, a ship, and a map. And he's got nothing but a barrel.
I mean, you got to start somewhere.
Absolutely. Humble beginnings, right? And we get to see, like, pretty much right at the beginning of the live action, is the execution of Gold Roger. And I really like how everything is set up. They have the platform, Gold Roger himself, the actor, just with the outfit and the mustache. I think he looks great. He looks just like the cartoon in live action.
Yeah, I think they the presentation of this scene. Now, was he hanged in the original?
I don't believe so. I'd actually have to double check because, like I said, I didn't read the manga. But in the anime, he has the two guards that stab him like they do in the live action.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious about that. But yeah, I mean that this whole scene was really well done. It's how you'd want something like this to go. And they do a really good job making it feel big and important. And I love the part at the end where they he gives his speech, they kill him, and then everyone just starts running off to their ships to try to find his gigantic, to find the One Piece. And it really gives you like a, you get excited as the viewer. You're like, man, like we're going on a treasure hunt. I understand I'm not in the story, but like I'm finding the One Piece. We're gonna go.
Absolutely, and you can tell that the creators of this live action are fans themselves, because if you look into the crowd and they show some crowd shots, you can actually pick out cameos of characters that we'll be meeting in this season, as well as characters that we can meet in the future if they keep going. So I thought that was really cool.
That is really cool.
If I'm not mistaken, I know they have Shanks in there. You can see a young Shanks. Um, Maybe Buggy, I'm not sure about Buggy. But they had other characters, and there's a few, um, theories about who might be in there. But I think they had, like, a young Smoker, which we don't see. Well, we see the back of his head, but, Smoker's in there, so, like, they definitely have little seeds. If you're a fan, you'll recognize. If not, we might touch upon that when the character's introduced if we get, season 2 and beyond.
That would be nice.
So we then meet Luffy, who is played by, I'm probably going to butcher his name, so I do apologize. I'm not great at names. Inaki Godoy, Iñaki. I'm not sure how you say his name.
We're
I'm
doing
just
our
gonna,
best, folks. I mean,
yeah. I barely speak English, and you're throwing curveballs at me. I'm Inaki Godoy. I'm gonna go with. I do really like his portrayal of this character. I'm pretty sure that I have read that Oda Sensei himself had a connection into making this actor Luffy. He himself has said that this Inaki has, the exact energy that Luffy has, so he was the perfect choice. So I do really like his portrayal. He's not as cartoony, but I think that would detract from the live action setting that this show has. So just he just exudes this positive energy, which Luffy does have. So I think he does a great job.
yeah, I agree. Like I said, is not a fan really of the original series. I think that he definitely does a good job. Shonen protagonists, they're bland, and I know people are going to roast me. Like, nah, like all these, Naruto and Luffy and Goku, like they're not all the same guy. I'm like, listen, they're good boys who like food.
Yeah, they like to fight and they like to eat.
There's a reason like shonen anime are geared towards little boys in Japan, and little boys like the protagonist to be happy, do good things, and eat lots of food. And that's the reality. And if you're like, no, One Piece is for adults, I'll be like, it's not, but it doesn't mean you can't enjoy it anyway. There are a ton of kids shows that that I enjoy, uh, as an adult. If it's written well, then that's all you need. Um, but the guy, Iñaki here, does a very good Luffy. He's very convincing to me. Like when he says, like, when he's positive, I believe that the character is positive. Like when he says things, I believe it. The line delivery is good, and maybe it's a little corny sometimes. But guess what? Luffy is a little corny sometimes, from what I understand.
Oh yeah, he definitely is. So it works, man. I really think that is the best acting choice.
Yeah, I give this casting a thumbs up.
The casting and the costumes too. The costumes really sell this world. They did an excellent job on costuming.
I was gonna say that I was watching it with my wife, and she looks at like a character with blue hair, and she'll be like, "That looks like natural almost. Like how did they like this world is supposed how do I say it? It's like you're just somewhere and people have all these like bizarre colored outfits in bizarre colored hair and it looks totally natural, like it just fits right in. And I'm like, man, if you put this in like a number of other shows, this wouldn't work at all. But they pull it off here. Like I said, there's just a character with blue hair, and I'm just like, that's just a normal person hair color, of course.
Yeah, I
It's
you
not.
you totally buy it though.
You do. So I love the costuming, the directing for the most part. Really, what they did here was like a work of art, and you can't say many other shows pull off what they did here. Like it looks like its own separate world, and what it is, it's they don't shove it in your face. It's like all in the background, kind of. So it's like no one points out that that character has blue hair. You like all the characters just accept that it's part of everyday life, and you as the viewer also kind of just accept, oh yeah, that's just part of everyday life.
And we also get to meet Kobe, who is played by Morgan Davies on Alvida's ship. And I think Davies was also a great casting for Kobe. I'm really excited to see like Kobe's future performances if we continue to get new episodes. But like Kobe is kind of an important character. Like in the anime, we only see in a couple episodes and then he's gone and then he comes back much much later. But in this series, they keep Kobe around because we get Luffy beginning his journey as a pirate, and we get to see from Kobe's point of view his journey becoming a marine, which is a really cool mirror thing that works really well in the live action.
I agree. I don't I didn't even remember Kobe's existence in the anime, honestly. So when this character came up, I had to look him up. And in this case, uh, the character looks like they're pulled right out of the manga. It's pretty wild. They
Like
did a
the
really
pink
good
hair
job.
again, pink
Yeah,
hair. They made it look natural. They made it look good.
they did. Yeah, it's because it's not like bright electric pink. It's like it's almost like a very subtle. Like there are times I looked at Kobe and thought that I'm like, yeah, Kobe's blonde. It almost doesn't even look. It looks like almost blonde with like some pink in it. Like so. I really liked it. Great job again.
So Luffy inspires Kobe to follow his dream of becoming a marine, and then beats up Alvida with his Gum Gum pistol. And the stretching special effects had me very worried for this show when they first announced it. But I think this looks pretty good.
It was also the thing the number one thing I was most worried about was the stretching. And throughout the entire show, I thought it looked at least acceptable, which is good enough for me.
Yeah,
It just had to not look bad. It didn't
right.
have to look phenomenal, just not bad, and it actually looked pretty good. So I'm really happy with that result.
I mean, when you got your main character has rubber powers, I'm like, how are you going to make that work in live action? But they pulled it off. And we also, in episode one, get the first half of the child Luffy flashback, and we get to see him eating the gum gum fruit, which gives him his rubber powers. For those who have not watched or are unfamiliar, in the world of One Piece, there are what are known as devil fruits. Each fruit has some kind of weird, crazy power that the person who eats it will gain. You don't know what it is until you eat it, usually. And once you eat that fruit, you lose your ability to swim. So, kind of a big trade off if you're going to be a pirate.
Yeah, I think that regarding the devil fruit, I feel like in the Four Kids version they actually didn't do a great job. Not the Four Kids, the anime in general. I feel like at first they didn't do a great job explaining it because I thought that Gum Gum was what they called all devil fruit. Maybe I just missed that whenever I was watching the anime originally. But I was like, oh yeah, like all the devil fruit's just Gum Gum fruit. But I'm like, no, apparently Gum Gum is specifically what Luffy ate. But I have to quote the pirate rap. where he says he's made of rubber. How did that happen? Yo ho ho, he took a bite of gum gum. Thank you once again. I will obsess over the pirates, the pirate rap from the Four Kids version. I think it's the best opening of One Piece. People could just fight me. It's fine. I bring the hot takes around here for the anime banter podcast. I bring controversial opinions. And yeah, pirate rap best opening.
I have heard it, so at least I'm familiar with it. I don't think I would say it's my favorite opening, but I respect your choice.
Thank you. I'm sure some of our listeners won't.
Well, it's the internet. You got to expect that.
Oh yeah, it's true.
So we also in this episode meet Nami, which is a bit of a departure from the original manga and anime. Nami is played by Emily Rudd, and she steals a boat and makes her way to the marine base where Luffy is heading towards. And she does meet up with Luffy as well as a tied up Zoro. And Zoro is played by, here we go, Mac and you. And the three of them steal a map to the Grand Line and they beat up the first villain, is Axe Hand Morgan.
What did you think of Emily Rudd?
In the earlier episodes, I thought she was fine. It's the last couple episodes where she really kills the character and she is absolutely incredible. And we'll talk about that when we get farther down, but I really like her
Oh, good. When you said kills the character, I was like, wait, in the good or bad way?
in the good way. In the
In the
good
good
way.
way.
Yes,
No, that's fine.
I don't want to freak anybody out who's like, "No, she was great." No, no, I agree. She was great.
Yeah, I've had some people say that they're like Emily Rudd is not my Nami. They're like she's not Nami. They're like she can't be. I'm like, well, number one, Nami in the anime has a gigantic chest. If that's what you're looking for, look elsewhere. Anime people have bad proportions. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you're worried she doesn't look enough like her for whatever reason, give up. Anime people aren't real people. Simple as that. Especially women, because the way that women are drawn in anime is extremely disproportionate to how they actually are in real life in most cases. So if it's the looks you're worried about, I feel like your argument's not very good. As far as the character goes, I don't know the character of Nami that well, besides the little bit I've watched, but um, I like her portrayal here. The character's cool. They make her do cool stuff. She has like the street smarts of the group, and I like that there's a character who kind of has like the street smarts to like stop Luffy from pretty much just like getting himself in a ton of trouble. She comes up with interesting alternative solutions to problems, and I think the character's pretty well written. So I like the way that Emily Rudd has. Not only is the writing for the character been good, Emily Rudd has been a good fit for the type of character that they wrote.
And apparently she's actually a big fan, so I think that definitely helped where she really knew who the character was and she, put her own spin on it. Especially like in the early episodes of like the anime and like the early of the manga, she's a little rough around the edges toward the rest of the crew until you reach the point, which we'll talk about, and then she warms up to the crew afterwards. So she comes off a little harsh in this early episodes because of the point, which we'll get
Yeah.
to. But I think she did a great job.
Yeah, that reminds me. Did you hear about Jamie Lee Curtis wanting to play a character?
I have, and I'm actually excited if we get a season two. Apparently, Jamie Lee Curtis is a fan of One Piece, which is really cool, and she wants to play Doctor Kureha, which is the one of the doctor mentors for Tony Chopper. So if we get season two, we're going to introduce the character Tony Chopper, and it would be really cool to have someone like Jamie Lee Curtis playing Dr. Kureha. So that would be awesome.
Yeah, because most of the actors are kind of like. I think out of all this cast, I don't know if I've seen like a single actor in anything else.
Yeah, I don't watch a lot of movies, so like I'm bad at actor names anyway, but like looking through the cast, it's like I've never heard of any of these people. I've never seen any of these people. And then I read that news about Jamie Lee Curtis, and I was like, "Whoa, I know who she is. She's a fan of One Piece? That's awesome."
Yeah, the question is, can they afford her? And that's one of the reasons I think I've heard this One Piece show has the budget of like a Game of Thrones season.
Yes, I heard that as well. Although I did read an article that she wants to play the character, so maybe money won't be as much of an issue for her.
Yeah, she might do it at a discount just because she likes it.
Yeah, and, like, she's not gonna be, like, a long time reoccurring character. You know, we meet her, she does her thing, we move on to the next island, and we don't really see her again, so it would be a cool little cameo to stick her in for a few episodes while we deal with the Chopper arc and then move on.
Yeah, and here's how I see it. So I heard about an episode of X Files where they had like a Cher lookalike, and apparently the story behind this is that Cher herself was a very huge fan of the X Files, but her agent told her like it won't do your career any good to be on the X Files. In fact, it could
Oh,
potentially hurt your career with the reputation that the show has. So I advise you do not go to the show. So I think about stuff like that where like agents are like, you're too big for this. Like, don't do this. It could hurt your career.
yeah,
But when it's someone like Jamie Lee Curtis, like she's not young. You know what I mean? And when your career is as storied as hers is, you can pretty much just do whatever the heck you want. And that's what I think is cool about like old actors. Is like old actors are like, especially ones who are already wealthy. They're like, I'm wealthy. I don't need the money. I'm just picking roles I think are fun. Like Daniel Radcliffe does that
yeah,
because he made so much money on Harry Potter. Just picks roles he thinks are fun and does them, like Guns Akimbo and the Weird Al movie.
yeah, exactly. It's like, "Oh, that seems like a really fun script, I think I would have a good time. I'll do it, sign me up."
So that's why I kind of hope that happens. It'd be fun to see.
For sure.
Oh, and how do you feel about Mac and you as Zorro? What are your thoughts?
Um, I liked him as a choice visually. I think he fits the character really well. He pulls off the green hair, you know, the three sword style. You have a sword sticking out of your mouth. That's really cartoony. And they again, he was able to pull that off. And he has said like he's Japanese. He grew up watching anime. He's familiar with One Piece, so he knows, you know, the character. And I think he fit in it really well. I just think his character was maybe a little too one dimensional. He doesn't have a lot of dialogue, which, I mean, Zoro doesn't have a lot of dialogue to begin with anyway, but he just didn't have a lot to say. And I kind of want to see a little bit more out of him before I, you know, cast any sort of judgment. I'd like to see some more out of him for season 2. I don't think it was a bad choice by any means. I mean, I liked him, but I just felt like it could have been a little bit more. A lot of times, Zoro has this thing where he's like me, he's directionally challenged and he gets lost all the time. And that's like a common joke, a reoccurring joke where he's always like, "Hey, we have to go to the ship. It's over here." And then you see him just run off in the other direction, and the crew has to yell at him like, "Over here!" And he goes, "Oh, what? Okay." And then he turns around. So like, there's a silliness to his character that we don't touch on here. He's like way like dark and broody, and doesn't talk a lot. And I don't know. I think it could have been done a little different, but he's got like the badass vibes down.
Yeah, he does. He has those vibes down. I'm also directionally challenged, so I get it. Now I like Zorro more. Uh, yeah. As far as McIntyre's portrayal of him, I mean, I liked seeing like there were a couple parts where like the character laughed and stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, like so he's not just like gonna be a dark and brooding character the whole time, which made me happy because I don't really love when characters are like that all the time necessarily. So he seems to be pretty into being in the crew at least. But you know, kind of like Luffy. How many times can Luffy say I'm going to be king of the pirates? Zoro, how many times can the man say I'm going to be the world's greatest swordsman? You know, like they really like to beat that home, and I think they probably do it in the anime too. So it's probably not that outrageous. But man, do they repeat their goals a lot.
Yeah, they do it a lot in the anime, especially Luffy. He says it like almost every episode. "I'm gonna be king of the pirates." Yeah, I know, I get it. You're the main character. That's gonna happen. I get it. But yeah, I think he did a good job. I just want to see, and again, like in the early episodes, he's a little like, "I'm not part of the crew." So now that they are a crew into season 2, I think we'll get a little bit of different Zoro, which will be good.
Yeah, I hope so.
So episode 2 is The Man in the Straw Hat. The crew are captured by Buggy the Clown, played by Jeff Ward. He is amazing. This man is he took Buggy in a whole different direction that I wasn't expecting, especially in this episode. He is scary. He's scared the shit out of me.
I was a really big fan of Buggy. I'm on TikTok. Like I don't like make TikToks, but like I follow TikTok. And yeah, like people end up on Buggy Talk, and apparently there are all these women thirsting after Buggy the Clown, and
Oh
I'm like,
no.
oh yeah, yeah, people would just like love Buggy, and especially women. And I'm like, dang man, like, but I kind of get it, like the clown girls, we all like the clown girls, so I guess women like the clown men maybe. Turtles, you're like, he's like, what are you talking about?
I am not a fan of clowns in general. I find them creepy and not attractive in any way.
Oh, the clown girls though.
I don't know. Maybe I'll have to Google clown girls and see what I can find. But I'm
this
I don't like clowns.
this is what happens when Mike's not here to rein me in. That's
it, it's fine. Run
that's
amok. He's not
yeah,
here. He
I'm
can't
running
stop us.
amok. No, but for real though, Buggy the Clown was so good. Like I was too. I This character was the one I was scared of being bad the most.
Yeah,
When people are like, "There's a clown character," and I'm like, "Everyone's gonna hate him. This dude's gonna act like the Joker or something." Like I don't know. I said no matter what they do with it, they're probably gonna go over the top cartoonish. But he was the right level of goofy.
absolutely. He had this perfect balance between goofy and scary and intimidating. I mean, we get to see Orange Town and it's like completely destroyed, but the one thing the anime shows is like him destroying the town. Here they just skip all that. The town's already wrecked. He's got all the townspeople chained up under the big top. You're forced to watch his circus act, and you better like it, or he's gonna end you. Like it's really scary, actually.
Yeah, I thought the way they presented that, like having all the townspeople chained up like that, and like forcing them to applaud and laugh and stuff without like food or sleep. Like I was like, man, this is so brutal, but so effective. Like you can really show how terrible Buggy is and how we should really never ever have any sympathy for him.
I don't remember in the anime that the townspeople were like chained up. I could be wrong. Maybe that was in there. But when I saw that, I was like, whoa, this is dark. I wasn't expecting that. And it definitely makes him, more intimidating. But Buggy is surprisingly an important character. We will be seeing him again if they keep going further into the story, because he comes back in the anime several times.
He seems bizarrely hard to kill, right?
Yes, he has the chop chop fruit where his body can be cut up into little pieces and he can just reassemble them, no big deal.
Yeah, so for him, he's just like, I don't know, like unless they whip his body into the bottom of the ocean like the fruit does,
Yeah,
there's pretty much no way to kill him.
he's a major character, and I can't wait to see more of Jeff Ward's performance. We also get the second half of Kid Luffy's backstory with Shanks and the Sea King, which for a CG creature, I think he looked really good.
Way better than it should have.
Yeah, they definitely spent a lot of time and money on making that thing look intimidating and real. We also get the great fight scene between Luffy and Buggy. It's a little drawn out, getting set up to there, but once they get going with it, it's a cool fight scene. And we also get Kobe, who is introduced to Vice Admiral Garp, which is another great character that doesn't show up in the anime until way later. But they worked him into the story early, and it just to me it makes sense having this Admiral character be here because he's also an important character, which we'll learn about later. But this is like it. Kobe's journey is mirroring Luffy's journey throughout these episodes, and that just makes sense narratively to have Garp there.
Yeah, I'll say. Tell me if I'm wrong, Turtle. I remember watching the original anime, and the Marines were kind of just like a gigantic joke. Like the Marines would be
Yeah.
there, pirate crews would just stomp on them all the time. Like one guy would take out 50, and it was just like so easy. Like everyone in the Marines sucked, and they were completely inept, and like they may as well not even have existed. Because you're like, oh, pirates run the world. The Marines, they're just like your local police who don't have any power, And by introducing Vice Admiral Garp, like you feel like there's like a legitimate presence in the Marines that was missing from whenever I watched the anime the first time around. Where, like I said, to me, the Marines were a joke. And then Vice Admiral Garp shows up, and you're like, "Oh crap! There are some serious people in the Marines. Dang!"
Yes.
maybe you have a different take though. Maybe the Marines weren't a joke, and I just misremembered it.
No, I would agree with you. The early episodes, there aren't too many Marine characters that like do anything or of any strength until really you meet Garp, and he's a vice admiral. So once you start climbing the ranks, you meet some pretty powerful characters. The admirals are absolutely terrifying. They're wacky. They got all kinds of powers and strength, and they can do some crazy stuff. And we won't meet those characters for a while. But it was good to put Garp in here to show that there are some powerful Marines. Your average Marines, they're not going to stand a chance to Luffy's crew, but there are members who are scary. You don't want to fight, and Garp's one of them. Don't mess with Garp.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? Because I thought about the original anime once again. Whenever like they show the Marines and like they take down Gold Roger, right? And like I'm like, all right, how could the Marines take down Gold Roger? Because they all suck. They're all completely useless. They see how powerful like all these pirates are, and you're like, how could he ever be captured? And maybe there's more of that story than I don't know, but
There is, and I don't want to spoil it, so I won't say
that's
anything.
okay. Let's
But
not.
since you mentioned that, one of the changes that the live action made is Garp was there on the platform with him. In the anime, Garp's not there.
Okay, so they're making Garp a little more important than he was.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think in the manga, in the early manga, Garp is not there. He's not present at Roger's funeral. But in the anime, he was, or not in the anime, in the live action, Garp is there because they do show later that Garp chased Gold Roger quite a bit. They knew each other. So to retroactively go back and in the live action put him there at his execution makes sense.
Yeah, I had no problem with that.
So we'll go on to episode 3, Tell No Tales. The crew heads to Syrup Village and they meet Usopp, who is played by Jacob Romero. And they head to Kaya's mansion and they meet her butler Clawhador, who is played by Alexander Menitis,
Maniatis.
Maniatis. Sorry,
I don't
Alexander.
know.
He does an incredible job with this character, and I love the way that he pushes his glasses up with the palm of his hand. It just looks so natural for him to do that because the character does that all the time, and it was perfect.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if the character did that all the time because it's like a fun quirk that
Yes,
they pulled off very well. Like he does it all the time, but you're like, yeah, like that's definitely this guy's thing. So
it
I like that feature.
it seems so silly, but the way he just casually does it, it's just like he just owned it, and it's like this is exactly how the character is. It's something that you see in the cartoon, and you're like, well, that's weird. Why does he do that? And there's a reason why he does that, which we'll find out in the next episode. But really, really well done. His portrayal of this character is awesome.
The dude looked like an anime character, like brought to life.
Yeah,
It was kind of crazy. I was like, man, like I was like, if you lined this guy right up next to the manga, I bet they look exactly the same.
I was gonna say, pull up a picture of the manga or the anime and look at him in his outfit, and it's perfect. It's perfect. And we also in this episode get to see the Going Merry for the first time. And I really like the ship, but the open mouth on the sheep's head just looked kind of weird to me. I'm not sure why they had the open mouth there. It was kind of creepy.
Yeah, I wonder what their thoughts were behind that because obviously they probably would have sculpted it on the set, right, to put it on like the front of the ship, or maybe they commissioned it. And whenever they did the commission, they weren't specific about the ram's mouth. Yeah, I wonder how many times in Hollywood stuff like that happens where they're just like, yeah, we actually commissioned this and they did it wrong, but we don't really have like the budget. But it was kind of like partially our fault, so like we just accepted it.
Just got to run with it.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's like that. Um,
That's a good question, actually. I would like to know that myself. Like, it's not awful, but like it's just weird because like when you see the anime and the manga, it just has a smile. It's a little sheep head with the horns and a smile on its face. This has like the mouth open with the tongue out, and I'm like, what is going on here?
at the same time, maybe they tried the smile and they said, you know what, in live action, this just doesn't look very good. Could be the case, right?
It could be like, well, it just looks too plain or cartoony and doesn't fit. Maybe. We'll jump forward again to episode 4. The pirates are coming, and we find out that Kaya's illness that's been keeping her, bedridden, is actually poison. And Kalahador is really Captain Kuro of the Black Cat Pirates. And again, the reason he pushes the glasses up with the palm of his hand is because he wears gloves with a sword on each finger, which looks absolutely silly. But again, this guy pulls it off in live action, it's like he's been doing it for 30 years.
You have to like how all the pirates have a lot of the pirates have to have like a gimmick. Like we're the Black Cat Pirates, so we have to have gloves that make us look like cats with claws, right? And you're
And instead
like,
of claws, they're swords.
yeah, and I'm like, you don't have to do that. You could just like cats and call yourself the Black Cat Pirates. But nope, nope, gotta go all in on the gimmick.
It's such a silly idea, but he made it look cool in live action.
Yeah, actually didn't look bad at all. Honestly, episode 4 was probably my least favorite episode. I don't know why. It just felt like it took forever to get through. Um, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it was my least favorite episode. Um, it just felt like it dragged to me.
I think the drag might have been with the whole Zorro bit, like him getting out of the well. That kind of went on a little long. I mean, we do get the Zorro backstory as to why he wants to be the greatest swordsman with his childhood friend who passes away.
We
They made a
needed it.
promise. It's an important thing that needs to be said for those who haven't watched it, but yeah, that kind of dragged a little bit.
Yeah, you have to understand a character's motivation though, like why they're doing what they do. So I didn't mind it. I said dragged for me a little bit, but it certainly did not. You know, I don't dislike it. It's just like we need to learn his backstory. They have to give it to us somehow.
And after we
Quick
get
question
that,
about the anime though. Is his backstory the same as the anime in the manga?
yes, yes,
Okay. Now next question. They said that his best friend died in like an accident or something like that. Was it an
yes.
accident or was she like killed by pirates or something?
I think, and I'm not 100% on this, so, leave some comments if you're watching on YouTube or email us to correct me if I'm wrong. I think in the manga, it's implied that she fell down the stairs and died. And I think in the anime, they just say she was in an accident and they're not real specific about what happened,
Yeah, the kind of guy Zora is, I'm surprised he doesn't have a vengeance backstory. Just like that broody guy
right?
that he is. Usually that kind of guy, like quiet, brooding, like sits in the corner by himself. Usually they're like, my goal is to kill this pirate, specifically this one. But he
Yeah,
doesn't have that, and I'm actually okay with that.
that's true. I mean, that can kind of get a little weird. And I mean, we do get to meet the bar that he has to reach. We'll meet that character in a little bit here, but I'm glad he's not just trying to hunt one individual person like for revenge. I do like that he wants to be the greatest because of a promise he made. But once we get out of that section, we do get some cool fight scenes. We have Zoro fighting Captain Kuro's number one and number two, Sham and Bucci. That's a pretty cool fight scene. And then we get to see Luro fighting Luffy fighting Captain Kuro.
I'm not gonna lie. After the world's greatest swordsman, like storyline where he's like, I'm gonna be the greatest. He goes and fights these two crew members, and I'm like, I feel like Zoro should have wiped the floor with them. But they made Sham and Bucci like bizarrely competent. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh, well, like I was kind of hoping Zoro would just wreck them, like newfound motivation, getting out of the well, right? Um, no, he like really struggled against them, and I'm like, man, this guy's really far from being the best swordsman, isn't he?
yeah. It's early Zoro. You got to start somewhere. He
Hmm.
does get pretty ridiculous as the show goes on. Obviously, they all get pretty ridiculous as the show goes on. But yeah, this fight it was cool. I mean, I like how it was choreographed. I think it was a pretty cool fight scene. But yeah, I mean, with his "I want to be the best," you can see he's got a long way to go.
Yeah.
And the whole time this is happening, we do see some interaction with the Marines, and Garp is drawing ever closer.
All right. To fill in for Mike being gone, we're going to have Sean's
Sean's
beer
beer
of
of
the
the
week.
week.
All right, Sean's beer of the week is Miller Lite. It's light beer. Um, it doesn't have like that many calories and carbs compared to all the beers that Mike is reviewing. It's not too heavy. It has a light color. Tastes kind of like polluted water, but you're gonna drink more anyway, though. Goes down pretty easy, and all in all, I would rate Miller Lite a 5 out of 10 for average beer. Oh wait, does Mike rank out of 5 or 10?
I think the Untapped is out of 5.
Okay, Miller Lite gets a 2.5. No, I'll give it a 3. 3 out of 5 because I don't know. I kind of like it, but then again, I have really bad taste in beer. This has been Sean's beer of the week.
Thank you, Sean, for your beer of the week. Episode 5, Eat at Baratier, which I pronounce it Baratier because that's how the Funimation dub has pronounced it. I don't know if that's correct or not. I am not French. The Straw Hats manage to escape Garp and find the floating restaurant, the Baratier, and decide to stop for lunch. And they have no money, and they eat a lot of food. We meet Sanji, who is played by Taz Skyler, and Zeph looks incredible. That mustache, dude. I want it.
Yeah, the guy that got to play Zeph, just like he looks so good. Like I don't know what Zeph's supposed to look like, but I imagine this is another character where I feel like you could almost just pull him right out of the manga or anime, and he probably just looks like this.
I definitely think that he was spot on. He's played by Craig Fairbrass, and absolutely awesome. Just the team that worked on the costumes really nails these characters. And Zeph just looks great with the chef hat, the tall chef hat, the peg leg, the ridiculous mustache that like goes down to his chest, which doesn't make sense. It just looks natural and good and supposed to be there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think between the costumes and the casting, they really nailed this one. But I've been hearing some people not loving Sanji's casting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, number one, okay, what kind of accent is Sanji supposed to have?
Well, in the Japanese version, he has a Japanese accent since he speaks Japanese.
This is fair.
In the Funimation dub, he's voiced by I don't remember the voice actor's name, but Trunks from Dragon Ball Z. So he just has him. Um, so no
So no
accent
goofy
there.
accent or anything.
No. Now I'm
That's
not
interesting.
sure what nationality Taz is,
He
but
sounds
he
British to me.
he definitely has an accent, which I that could be his natural accent of him speaking, English. I don't know, but I mean, he's a chef, so maybe it's just me. I automatically think, chef French. I connect those two things together. I don't know why,
No, I kind of get it.
but he's not French.
Yeah, so yeah, I heard some people had a problem with this casting, and some people didn't like the way his character was written. I saw one person say that, like, he kind of like hit on Nami, and they're like, Sanji would never do that. And I'm like, wait, wasn't Sanji's reputation like a ladies' man though when he first joined the crew, kind of?
Sanji does that in every episode. What are they watching?
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's the problem. I go on the internet and I read comments of people, and just like on the internet, everyone has an opinion, and I mean, we're here talking for hours for over an hour, but I don't know. People just you know, pe- people like to complain about stuff. I guess I just enjoyed the ride because I don't have too many preconceived notions. So I was just like, yeah, this Sanji guy's pretty cool.
And to me, that shows that like the show did a good job since you just were along for the ride and you enjoyed it.
They did do a good job. I liked all the casting of the main crew.
Yeah, I thought they were good. So I don't know.
Oh, I didn't ask about what you thought about Usopp. Jacob Romero. Did you like Jacob Romero's Usopp?
We did kind of skip over him. I like his Usopp. He didn't really do much, and that's no fault of his. It's just the writing for the episodes didn't really have much for Usopp to do. He talks a lot, which I mean he does in the anime. He lies and makes up stories, and that's what he does. But he doesn't like have any kind of fight scenes or anything. Now in the anime, he does have some fight scenes, but he's also sort of a gag character where he's constantly afraid of everything. And I would say that Usopp is my least favorite Straw Hat, just because I'm very sick of that gag, and I want Usopp to do stuff. And yes, he does stuff. Don't get me wrong, but most of the time he's like running around being afraid for his life instead of standing his ground and fighting, and it just irks me. But this portrayal so far, like in the early Usopp, I think he is fine. He just doesn't get to do much, and that's sort of the writing of the show. They didn't give him much to do yet.
Yeah, I agree. Even like Sanji in the few episodes he was in, I felt like looked better than Usopp did. Because they let Sanji do the kick fighting and they let him like his backstory was very prominent, whereas like a lot of Usopp's backstory was kind of like somewhat I wouldn't say glazed over, but what was her name? Kaya, was it Kaya? Yeah,
Yes.
I feel like Kaya's backstory was like way more interesting than Usopp's.
Yeah, I mean, in the anime and I think the manga, Usopp had three little kids, and they were part of his Usopp pirate crew, which the live action just cut the kids out. They're like, we're gonna get past this. We're not gonna bother with the kids. Which I mean, I get it. It makes sense to me to just skip that. So I wasn't too upset that we cut that. Things have to be cut, right?
hmm
So I wasn't upset to lose that, but he just doesn't have a lot to do in the early stuff. So again, I'm excited to see him in a season 2 where hopefully they give him a little bit more to do. We also get to see Mihawk, and Mihawk kicks the ever loving shit out of the Dawn Krieg pirates. I was never really a big fan of Dawn Krieg. He's a scumbag character, and he's written to be that way, and he kind of grated on me. So I kind of liked that this was more of a cameo. Like, hey, here's Don Krieg. Mihawk's gonna kill him, and then we're gonna move on. So I liked that. That was fine for me.
I didn't even know Don Krieg had anything. So yeah, I guess like you said, they're gonna have to skip some things. The Don Krieg's not really important in the long run, like obviously like Buggy is and Mihawk is. Then get rid of them or don't have them in at all.
And they could have just skipped him entirely, but at least they stuck him in. They had the wanted poster, which again, the wanted posters we didn't talk about how they show up in front of important people, and then
I
they
like them.
character interacts with that poster to get it off the screen. Really cool.
Yeah, it's a really really fun. Like it's very unique. Like I don't think I've ever seen anything like that in a TV show.
I don't think the anime does anything like that during the show. Like they'll have a wanted poster come over and a little animation play like before a commercial break, and then when the commercial break is over, they'll have maybe another character and then cut back to the episode. This takes place during the episode, which I thought was really cool.
But yeah, let's talk about Mihawk for a second.
Oh
This
yeah,
is another character who looks like he's just peeled right out of the anime.
he looks awesome.
He looks so good in this live action version. I couldn't believe. I'm like, honestly, of all the characters, I thought he like looked the best. Like he had the best look. And I'm not talking about just character design, but the costume, the actor, like it all came together for this one.
Mihawk was played by Stephen John Ward, and like the yellow eye contacts, that's such an important look to Mihawk is his eyes, and those contacts were perfect. He looks so cool.
Yeah, I was gonna mention the contacts as well. That's like the cherry on top. It's like when you're looking at him, that's what you're seeing. Like you're focused on his eyes,
Yes,
and the rest of it's there too. And
they draw your attention right to his eyes, and you just like it looks like he's piercing right through your soul.
mhm, mhm.
Really good. So Garp gives Mihawk orders to capture Luffy, and Mihawk shows up at the Baratier after kicking the shit out of Don Krieg. And Zoro challenges him to a duel because Mihawk is the world's greatest swordsman. And I don't know if the no, you know what? The show does mention Mihawk is one of the seven warlords of the sea. They're pirates who, take orders from the Navy, and they're sanctioned by the Navy, and the Navy lets them do whatever they want, basically. But they did a real nice recreation of this duel in its entirety. It's mostly one for one to the anime that I recall. They hit all the major beats, and it was really good.
Yeah, the little sword cracked me up.
Oh, I know, it's so funny.
I don't know, just describing. He's like, no, this should do it. Like, I don't know. I did think it was kind of cool that the way that these swordsmen all operate, they all act illogically because every single swordsman in anime just wants a good fight, right? So he's like, hold up, this guy has like a little bit of potential, so I'm gonna let him live, so he can potentially realize that potential. And he might come and try and kill me, but that's okay because I'm the greatest swordsman. I don't know. Parts do stuff for entertainment.
We'll move on to episode 6, The Chef and the Chore Boy. So the Straw Hats try to stop Zoro from dying after his duel with Mihawk, and Zoro almost dying is a very common theme in the anime. Pretty much after like every battle, he is almost dead and somehow bounces back, and sometimes he continues to fight in the next arc when he's almost dead. So this it's a very common theme, and I'm wondering if they're going to carry this on as we keep going. If we get more live action where Zoro's just going to be like bandaged up and half dead all the time.
I did not know that, but it's kind of funny.
Yeah, Zoro is definitely the most badass character where he's like always wounded and screwed up, and he still manages to pull out wins, and he's just incredible. We also get the Sanji and Zeph flashback in here, which is incredibly well done. I think even like in here they took the manga route where Zeph has to like sever his own leg and eat it to survive. Where in the anime, I don't think they say that he ate his leg. They kind of don't cover that. But here in the live action, they go off the manga and they're like, yeah, he that's more dramatic that way, absolutely, and it hits hard. It's really well done.
I mean, I like the concept of him like giving up all the food to the kid because and then just like enduring the incredible hunger. I like that idea. However, when they're like day 75 and he's like I ate my leg and I'm like, dude, if you ate your leg, you're going to need a lot more food than that to survive. Like I don't know how many days. 75 may have been an exaggeration, but every time I thought they were going to be rescued, I was like, oh yeah, like they could probably make it like a couple weeks, like maybe a month, and I'm like, with like the limited rations they have, and they're like, nope, they went past like day 50 or something like that, and I'm like, okay, I get that this is anime, but you guys don't have to make it that unrealistic. Jeez.
So back in real time, not flashback, Arlong shows up at the Baratier instead of Don Krieg. Normally, Don Krieg would show up here, um, and then him and Luffy have a showdown. But they opted to kill Don Krieg and have Arlong show up because Arlong's basically the big bad, and they wanted to have more scenes with him to, show off how strong he is and how bad he is, and gives us a reason to know Arlong for more than 2 episodes, basically. So they put him here instead, which narratively makes sense. I get it.
Yeah, I didn't mind that at all. Like honestly, like they'd put Don Krieg here instead of Arlong. Like it really built up the Arlong legacy leading into the final episodes. So
Absolutely.
good story choice.
It was a good change. And so they show Arlong beating up Luffy, and then Nami gives Arlong the map that they stole to the Grand Line and reveals that she was an Arlong pirate the whole time. Shock!
Gasp.
Which leads us into episode 7, The Girl with the Sawfish Tattoo.
Oh, is that accurate by the way to like the anime?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Which is why she's so prickly in the beginning of this. She doesn't want to join their crew because she is tied with Arlong against her will, which we will get there.
Makes sense because I guess Luffy had the map, so she's like, all right, like I guess I have to follow them around, even though I don't want to.
She likes the crew, but she has other stuff going on that she has to deal with first.
Yeah.
So, in this episode, we get Nami's backstory, and we find out why she betrays the Straw Hats. And this is another like adaptation that's really well done. I mean, I say that a lot, but I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, they're doing a great job. They're covering all the major beats, and it makes sense and looks good. Like, I believe this is a world,
Yeah, I like that all the tangerines everywhere.
and
Um,
that's a major thing with Nami is the tangerines.
yeah, it's like the same color as her hair. But yeah, the tangerines like in the village, like that being like their primary like food and like like the produce they create or they grow is tangerines. And I'm like, oh, this is really cool because I think there are a lot of places that like primarily grow like one type of crop, and they kind of just have to incorporate it into their cuisine. They have to incorporate it into everyday life, and it's just cool seeing them everywhere. They did a really good job of like giving me a theme for the village. Like there's an aesthetic, there's a theme. They keep sticking with it. Like they just keep crushing these locations. The aesthetics have been great.
So we see that the local Marines of the area are taking payment from Arlong, so they don't report Arlong's activities to the rest of the Marine bases, so Arlong is left to do whatever he wants. This shows that most of the Marines in the world of One Piece are corrupt, much like a lot of authority figures in real life. Ouch.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not a surprise. Many authority figures are indeed corrupt.
And we'll jump next to episode 8, the final episode, The Worst in the East. So Nami is betrayed by Arlong, and she finally breaks down, and we get the infamous scene of her asking Luffy for help. This is such an iconic scene from the manga as well as the anime, and Emily Rudd absolutely killed this scene. She was so good. She made me cry with her. I loved this rendition. This is what sold me on Emily Rudd as Nami. This scene here, it was like one for one. She did an incredible job. The emotion, she was awesome.
Is that the scene where he puts his hat on her head?
Yes,
Yeah, I've seen like clips of that and people saying that like that is a very iconic scene from the anime.
that gets me every time I see it, and it does. Apparently now it doesn't matter what version it is, be it cartoon, live action. I'm sure if I read it, it would hit me the same way. It's just so well done. And of course, we have Luffy beating up Arlong, and this happened kind of fast for me. I realized like we're in the last episode, we're running out of time, but Arlong went down really quick in this one.
Yeah, well, Luvia had the power of friendship on his side. So, he couldn't lose. The gum gum, like the axe kick,
That is cool.
um, was really cool. Yeah, I really liked it. So, and the way they like, he like kicked him like through the floor, multiple floors. I was like, okay, this is really cool.
Yeah, like in the anime and the manga, there's like a whole fight sequence that didn't happen in the live action. They just went to like, I'm gonna break the building and just drop your house on top of you. Which I mean, that is what happens in the anime. But there was a whole fight sequence before that that they kind of skipped over. But I get it. We're pressed for time here. But I just feel like they were building up Arlong to be this really bad dude, and then like Luffy drops him pretty quick. I don't know.
Yeah, but a lot happens after this, which I thought they'd beat him, celebrate, and that'd be it. But nope, Garp.
Yep, we get Garp's arrival, finally catching up to Luffy, and they have a battle. I use battle in quotation because Garp whoops Luffy's ass.
Oh yeah,
And it turns out that Garp is just testing Luffy's resolve because Garp is Luffy's grandpa. So there's
which is
there's
very
a
interesting.
there's a twist.
And it was actually kind of cool. I didn't mind it.
Were you aware that Garp is Luffy's grandpa?
He mentions it. If I didn't know going into the show, but he mentioned it a couple episodes ago. Whenever they're chasing them, and he's looking through like the spyglass, and he's like Gramps, and they're like Gramps.
And I
So
think I think that's how they end the one episode that way. And I was like, oh.
yeah, 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 exactly. So like, I thought that was pretty interesting. That was his grandfather. Pretty rough for for a grandfather to see his grandkid become a pirate while he's in the Marines. But at the same time, this is a very bizarre world. It sometimes feels like there are straight up just like two occupations. It's either you're a pirate or you're like fighting pirates. There's two walks of life: pirate and fighting against pirates, and that's it. So, kind of makes sense you choose one side, but you learn quickly that Luffy's not your conventional pirate. Like they're like do-gooders, and he's like, "Oh, we wouldn't steal from people. We're pirates." And we're like, "Luffy, I'm not so sure if you know what being a pirate like really means." But to Luffy, pirate means freedom, and it's not. It's not pillaging. It's not like being the Vikings from Vinland Saga that we've been watching. Being a pirate isn't about doing cruel acts and stealing. It's about following your dreams and freedom. And that's one of the things that's endearing about the Straw Hats is that they're not villains. You could sometimes say maybe they're not exactly heroes because they don't operate within the confines of the law, but at the same time, um, everywhere they've gone, they've done good works for the most part. They just want to find treasure and live their lives the way they want to. And I think it's kind of noble, and that's why the characters are so likable.
Absolutely. And we also get to see Luffy's first wanted poster, and it looks great. They even got the back of Usopp's head, which is
Is that in
awesome.
the anime?
Yes, yes, that the first wanted poster, they have Usopp's the back of his head, which is just a fun little touch.
Yeah, I love how Usopp's like, guys, I made it onto a wanted poster.
Captain Usopp.
Yeah, the scene where they show Mihawk in Shanks. Um, there's a lot of pirate respect. They're like, listen, man, we might fight tomorrow and murder each other, but like today, let's have a drink together. And sometimes the pirates are kind of like that in this show, and I kind of like it.
I really like Shanks as a character, but like he's barely been in the show, and I would like to see more of him.
Well, it's kind of bizarre to me because a lot of times the mentor character like dies. Like I figured we'd get eventually get a flashback where like Shanks dies, because that's just how they do this stuff.
Yeah,
But no, Shanks is actually just still alive, and we might meet him later.
he's off
And I'm like,
doing his pirate thing, which apparently is just drinking a lot.
seems to be it, yeah.
But yeah, we don't get a lot of Shanks in the anime. Like we get the flashback stuff, and he'll pop up on occasion here and there, like in the background. But like he hasn't, we've not seen him fight. We've not seen anything major from him. So it's Shanks is a really interesting character that we haven't had a lot of exposure to. So I definitely would like more Shanks in the future. Oda Sensei, work on that, please.
Well, if Shanks proves to be a very popular character in live action, maybe Oda will try and write a little something with him in it because he's gonna be like, oh, people want more Shanks, okay.
Knowing Oda Sensei, I'm sure he has a plan for Shanks. We're just not ready to learn what it is yet. Because he likes to plant seeds in episode 5 that won't grow until episode 500 in the anime. So he has things planned out. He knows when things are going to come back.
Yeah, it's like we're not ready. Oda will tell us when we're ready.
Exactly.
Trust in Oda.
I do. So as a whole, what did you think of these episodes in this season here?
Very fun. I'm definitely gonna watch season 2. My wife also liked the episodes, so when that comes out, we're both gonna watch them together. I think that yeah, they gave me a lot to like. Now the question is, will I start watching the anime because I like the live action? And the answer is, heck no. There's like 1,500 episodes. I'm not watching that. Who
Oh,
has time for that?
you really should. I recommend it, but I get it. It's a lot. It's a long haul.
What I could do with like 1,000 episodes. You know how many different anime I could watch that are like 13 to 26 episodes long? You know how many different anime I could watch at that time? Instead, I could just watch all of One Piece, and I'm like, no, I just can't justify it. If I was immortal, let me tell you, if I was immortal and I had like the gift of eternal life, uh, yeah, I'd watch One Piece. Why not?
I wish I could argue that, but I really can't. It's just so much. It's so long. But I recommend it. I love the live action version. I think they did an awesome job. Obviously, some changes had to be made. That's just when you're adapting one medium into a different medium, it cannot be one for one. And to be honest, I don't want it to be one for one because the other medium already exists. So, do what you have to do to make this medium its own thing. And I think they did a great job with this as far as like live action versions of anime. This is to me by far and away the best. I'd give this season an 8 out of 10. And now it is time for the waifu of the week. All right, Sean, who's your waifu of the week?
Oh crap! I didn't. I wasn't prepared for this segment. today. The show had a lot of really like really good characters. Um, for this one, I'm probably going to choose the character that I thought looked the coolest. Because there's so many factors you could choose here. It's like which one had the best casting, which One Piece character had the best arc, things like that. But I think I'm going to pick Mihawk. I think that just like the design and presentation of his character and the actor, I really think that like that is one character that really had it all going for them. So that is a character like I would love to see more of in the future. So yeah, I'll pick Mihawk.
That's a great choice. And if the live action keeps going, we will get some more Mihawk in the future. So fingers
Nice.
crossed.
How about you, Turo?
This week, I'm going to go with Buggy, man. I mean, he did such a great job with this character in the introduction episode where he's like really scary. And then we do have more Buggy throughout the rest of the show as he becomes detached from himself, so to speak. So we get the Straw Hats kind of carrying his head around for a couple episodes, and just the dialogue he has and the silliness. You start to see that he's kind of a goofy character as well, and some of the fear is kind of worn off that initial episode. And I just thought he did an incredible job. I want more Buggy in the future. This is a mildly major character for a couple arcs in the future, and even now, as the anime and the manga keep going, Buggy's still doing his thing. So I'm very excited to see more Buggy, and I think Jeff Ward did a great job. I want to see more of him.
Yeah, Buggy's definitely a good choice. Really good character. Like you said, when they start carrying around the head in the bag and he's just cracking jokes, I'm like, this is great. Um,
It's so good.
but I'm looking forward to more Buggy too. And also, I feel like you may have some bias because if Buggy is like a really good character in the anime, then like I feel like your appreciation for him here is enhanced greatly because you're like, oh, he's a really good character in the anime, and we have a good actor playing him here. So like it's just 10 out of 10, for everything there with Buggy. So look forward to more.
All I'm gonna say is Impel Down arc for those who know. That would be sick in live action. I want to see it. Thank you all for joining us this week as we watched the Netflix live action One Piece. We hope you join us next week for episode 29 of the Anime Banter podcast. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews. If you are listening on YouTube, please like the video, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Turtle, do you have anything you would like to plug? Why, yes, Turtle. Please check out my YouTube channel, RPG Treasure Trove, where you can watch me and a friend on couch co-op style play an RPG video game. Sean, do you have anything you would like to plug?
Yes, I do. We are in the middle of airing the Deepman Files podcast, season 2. We're only about 15 episodes in, so please check us out. Listen to the first season. You're still pretty much in at the ground level, and we only release about 13 episodes a season, so it is not the One Piece of podcasts. You don't have to listen to 1,000 episodes. You can just jump in and you'll be caught up pretty quickly.
The Anime Banter podcast can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you all for joining us, and we will talk to you next week.